Hello, this is Krystal Stanich, and thank you for joining me for this week's First Chapter Friday. Today I will be reading from the beginning of Damian Dibben's The Color Storm. Prologue. 60 years afterward, Rome, January 1570. On the Quirinal Hill, a young man waits at the door of a palazzo. He hasn't knocked yet. He's trying to compose himself. It's cold, colder than any January he can remember. His eyes are sore and his hands ungloved, one clutching his portfolio, the other the neck of his coat, have turned a kind of iron blue, except at the fingertips, where paint is ingrained. Persian red, verdigris green, orpiment yellow, from the canvas he was working on before setting off for Rome. The Revenge of the Widow Giuditta. He was told in the letter that the mansion was easy to find. Close to the civic barracks and built in the Moorish style of a Spanish palacete, its facades reminiscent of beaten silverwork. But he walked past it several times without realizing. He'd been expecting a splendid mansion. The letter surely implied it, but if it had been once, those days are gone. He feels duped. After the effort he spent getting here, inexorable hours rocking up and down in a cramped carriages, shoveled around by barking drivers, barely eating or sleeping, and shivering for days. Then, when he arrived in the city and panicked about his appearance, about that vital first impression, he spent the last of his money on a new coat, a garment that turns out to be as itchy and ill-fitting as it is ineffective against the wind. He knocks, and after a pause there comes a shuffle of footsteps. A swing of lantern light through the hall window. The door is unbolted and cracked open, just enough for an elderly steward to peer out. Dominicos Capullos, the young man says, in the habit now of shortening his surname. From Venice, the painter. Yes, yes, says the steward, and ushers him inside. My apologies for arriving so late. Dominicos peers around, disappointed to find that, like the outside, the interior gives no sign that money lives here. But in the last letter I received, the lady said there was urgency. He adds, pointedly, the lady provided me with an address, but I still have no name for her? He deserves to know by now the identity of who he's dealing with. But the steward holds up both palms and says, Yes, yes, wait here. He totters off down a corridor into a room, and there come sounds of opening cupboards and rattling glass. Dominicos looks around. The space is bare, the walls tatty and crumbling. Most worrying of all, not one piece of art is on show, though discolored patches indicate paintings must have hung here once. In her letter to him, signed only as a lady collector, she praised his work, had a detailed knowledge of it, surprisingly, even what he'd produced in Crete before leaving for Italy. She explained he was suited for the task. She didn't say what that was, though, and offered no information about herself. He presumed, why wouldn't he, that she was a rich patroness who liked to remain anonymous. In any case, she'd sent a sum of money to cover his traveling expenses to Rome, and that decided it. This way, the steward says, pattering back, a silver tray in his hands, a decanter with brandy and 2 glasses. Up, up. He starts to ascend the stairs to the first floor gallery. She's not been well today, but your arrival will revive her. Dominicos follows, and at once the light in the hall changes. The space fills out with a pearly luminescence, bringing everything, all the decay, into clarity. White flakes dance against the window halfway up the stairs. Snow in Rome? Domenico says. Peering out, he finds the city already half-dusted in it. The old farm has been transformed into a fairy kingdom. Then, casting his eye along the horizon, a surprise. One of the crests of the opposing hill is the new Basilica of St. Peter. Since he arrived, he's only caught glimpses of it behind buildings. An abstract corner here, a part section of dome there. He thought it was finished. Wasn't everyone saying it was? But sections remain scaffolded and strewn with ladders, and even from the urinal, he can hear the tap of hammers across the valley. The steward leads him into a large, dark room. Dominicos notices the fire first, which is housed in a tiled cabinet that comes out from the wall, like an ironmonger's furnace, though more ornate. Its door is ajar and flames rumble within. In shadow, on the far side of it, a lady is seated at a table. And if you would like to know what happens next, you can read this on the Hoopla app. Please join me here in 2 weeks as I read from the beginning of Dreaming in Color by Melanie Florence. Thank you and have a great week.